Hi, this is Dr. Andrew Rimby. As I am recording this, I'm actually visiting my parents in New Jersey, and I'm about to present the first ever podcast and digital media workshop for college English professors at Seton Hall University. So, shout out to the New Jersey College English Association for having the Ivory Tower Boiler Room. And I can't wait to go over whether or not they should create a podcast with their college students. Should they create a podcast for their own scholarship or even for their own passion projects? I can't wait to show them how the Ivory Tower Boiler Room has transformed from a graduate student academic podcast to what it is now, which is such an exciting and innovative arts and culture podcast, right? We have New York Times bestsellers, we have Broadway performers, we have reality TV personalities, we have a true crime in academia show that's been going strong, hosted by Mary DiPipi. We have events like trivia, and I just took a group to see Wicked on Broadway. I have consulting services. I have small business marketing clients, including the Soapbox and Crank Cycle on Long Island. So I've also had writing clients and worked on editing and college admission essays and graduate student writing. So I can't wait to show them the possibility of what it means to start to even become more social media literate, and why do we use certain platforms to amplify and promote work that we're doing in our own lives. So what I thought I would do is an actual surprise behind the scenes curtain type discussion, which is, I don't have my professional mic right now, so apologies with the sound, but I was going to allow you all a little glimpse into what the Ivory Tower Boiler Room virtual book club discussions are like. So this happened in March, and we were discussing at the beginning of March Leah Remini's memoir called Troublemaker, which revealed why she left Scientology and her whistleblowing essentially about the corrupt nature of Scientology. So you're going to hear a discussion including I'm in it. Mary co hosted the book club with me. Rebecca, good friend of the ITBR. Hi, Rebecca. She comes to the trivia events on Long Island, was part of this discussion. And also, my parents were part of this discussion. So I'm going to let you all listen to about 20 minutes of the discussion. And then if you want to listen to the full discussion, it is on our Patreon, which remember, you get a 1 week free trial to the ITBR Patreon. Just go to Ivory Tower Boiler Room, or sorry, patreon.com/Ivory Tower Boiler Room. And you'll see that there's a free trial option for the $10 a month level. So I hope you all take me up on that. And please join the next book club discussion. It's always virtual, so it's so easy to join in your pajamas, or you could have just come from running outside. The weather is beautiful here in the Northeast right now. On April 7th, we'll be having a really exciting discussion about Gregory Maguire's Wicked. So if you've wanted to read Wicked, you never had accountability to read Wicked, now's your accountability. So if you just want to join the book club, it's $4 to join. And you're going to see a lot of people who came to Wicked because as part of their Wicked ticket for Broadway, they get to join the book club. So it'll be such an exciting group of Broadway musical enthusiasts, including myself. So here is our Leah Remini book club discussion.
What did you all think of, is this the first time you read Troublemaker since it came out in 2015?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Has
And
anyone? Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Andrew.
no, you're probably going to say the same question, Mary. Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, like, what I'm just curious as to what is everyone's like level of knowledge around Scientology. Like, what
Mm.
is? Did you know much about it? Did you know absolutely nothing about it? I mean, was Tom Cruise the only link or thing that you knew about Scientology? Just curious.
Yeah, it's a good question.
Yeah, that was the only thing I knew about Scientology was Tom Cruise. So it really like kind of opened my eyes to how abusive Scientology is. And like, because of reading that book, like I read Mike Rinder's book.
Mhm.
Oh.
So like, you just like went down like the Scientology rabbit hole.
It's so easy to get sucked into.
Yeah. And then like
Yeah.
all the documentaries, like her docuseries,
Mhm.
insane.
Yeah. I got my mom, Rebecca, last week when she was here staying. We watched like at least 5 episodes of the Scientology and Aftermath series.
It's so good, isn't it?
It is very
So
good.
good.
I
It
think
is.
Dave should watch it.
Mm-hmm.
It's, I
Yeah.
mean, because I mean, when
Yeah.
you
Oh, and
really want to deep dive Scientology, I feel like people focus more on the L. Ron Hubbard of it all and where his idea coming up with this and how it's become essentially a religion today. Well, not essentially. I mean, in the eyes of the government, it's a religion. Um,
Mhm.
so sorry, I totally just lost my train of thought. But we don't really
Yeah.
focus on, there we go, the victims and the people who
Mhm.
have who've struggled and have, had to live this life and what it really is like for them. And that's why I really like not only this book, but everything that she's done as far as calling Scientology out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like the whole financial abuse practices, like just
Oh
the
my God.
vulnerable people, like raising their credit limit and then maxing out their credit cards,
Mm-hmm.
and then all under the tax exempt status of just lining their pockets.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Well,
Yeah.
I'm surprised that the FBI and others haven't been involved, because my background, of course, is financial. Um, the child labor laws they have violated just for that
Mm-hmm.
alone is so serious, and they should be just shut down just for that.
Mm-hmm.
What about
Sure.
everything else? So I don't know who they know and why this hasn't been investigated, but it's
Mm-hmm.
something that's out there and should be investigated. With
Yeah.
everything coming out, I don't understand why this hasn't been investigated.
Yeah. I have a feeling personally, like just aside from Leah Remini stuff and just other Scientology things that I've looked at, um, it's really like it seems like they have friends and like not even friends. I honestly think that they have members just infiltrating, like kind of like because of course they want you to
I
go
agree.
through their thing of the Sea Org and
Yep.
all of
Mhm.
that. But I think there are a few people where they go, you know what? We're gonna send you to college because we need you to work in this type of
Mm.
field. If they don't
Mhm.
already have people in those fields working for them
Yes.
to begin with, I just think from their standpoint, it would be a lot easier to have someone who's already committed to the religion
Mm.
versus someone who's coming into it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
That
but
makes sense.
I don't
Yeah.
understand how nobody's infiltrated as like there's undercover narcotics.
Well, I think there's some that are in the church that are in the police because when she wanted to find David Miscavige's
Kelly.
wife,
Yeah.
Mhm.
and then they just kind of just
Didn't
didn't
follow
do
up.
it. They didn't do it.
Yeah, like
And
where is she?
yeah, I thought that
Yeah.
was
Why can't
awful.
anyone tell us where she is? If I miss.
The case is closed. That's what they said. Ma'am, I'm
Well,
sorry. The case is
But
closed.
but they haven't.
Just
But the
sense.
people, if they put a missing persons thing in, as I said, I don't think they have pushed the envelope far enough.
Mm-hmm.
Why the government hasn't got involved in this? Because the government got involved in a lot of cults over the years.
Yeah.
Waco, we can name them all.
Mm-hmm.
So they know this goes down a really slippery slope of disaster. So why this hasn't been investigated is beyond me.
Maybe
If it is, and if it,
because
well,
they're paid
it is,
off, probably.
paying them off.
maybe,
Mm-hmm.
but the bottom line is it should be.
Yeah.
I mean, we're talking a
But you're
billion
right.
dollar cult.
Yeah. But
Mm-hmm.
the education aspect, Mary, like that's something I was curious, like wanted to ask you all, is I'm still like curious because like they're not really encouraging people who are born into Scientology Like I'm thinking like Elizabeth Moss, or she was born into Scientology.
Mhm.
Um, they don't really want them to go to college.
Mhm.
Like they want all their schooling to be the Scientology courses from 9 to 10, which is just wild.
Mhm.
Um, but then you're right. They do want them in certain professions. So like when Leah's working all these odd jobs in LA, it's like,
Mhm.
oh, well, we're going to send you to this career because we know there's a Scientologist who works there. But then it was okay that she went into acting because then it's status being a celebrity. It's like a
Yep.
very, but like you're not really hearing that they're like medical practitioners because they don't believe in medicine, or they're not
Mm,
like professors, or it's just interesting to see which careers they're prioritizing. None of them are really critical thinking. Not that acting's not critical thinking, it is, but they're not ones where you could really go into a career that would question Scientology's beliefs, which I
Mhm.
just find it's so interesting. Even though he was a science fiction writer. So like at the
Yeah.
part of it, L. Ron Hubbard was a creative writer.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Like no one really talks about his profession.
Well,
No.
It's
the thing I found really uh, astonishing was how many hours they spent doing these up-on courses,
Yeah.
quote unquote, and how much
Mhm.
money they spent. I
Yeah.
mean, it's like, it's like they're spending money like they're going to major universities,
Yeah.
and
Mhm.
I
for the
don't get it.
textbooks.
Yeah,
Well,
I just
but it
don't
I
is
get it.
kind of
know.
like what happens in college is, or right, Mom, you were in high school. It is true. Like once a textbook is out of
Mhm.
date, now you have to buy the whole package again,
Yeah.
even though it's
Yeah.
the same material. Um,
But they would like
Mhm.
change the cover,
yeah,
right? And then like have
yeah.
you buy it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And there was what, like $1,000 for the whole core text, like to buy
Yeah.
the package. Yeah, it's
But she's
Yeah.
saying to
um,
get to a certain level, you're buying 300, 400 books.
Yeah.
I mean,
Mhm.
it's I just don't understand the whole process of this and how it's generational because
yeah.
outside looking in, it doesn't make any sense. And to get your, as Rebecca said, take your credit card and max it out and get a higher credit limit to buy quote courses or give donations is insane.
Hmm.
I mean,
Mhm.
it's insane.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Has anyone
mhm.
read, like, has anyone actually read Dianetics? Like,
No.
a part of me wants to, but I'm also like, I don't really. It's basically just a science fiction book, isn't it? Dianetics?
I don't even know.
Yes. From my understanding, it definitely has those elements to it. But I mean, the Scientology religion in general, which is why they don't believe, which is part of the reason why they don't believe in doctors, is that you're supposed to be so in tune with yourself mentally that you can, like, you shouldn't, first of all, you shouldn't be getting sick, but if you do, you should be able to cure yourself with just your mind. Because you
Mm-hmm.
getting sick was you having, like, a lapse of, whatever, a
Oh,
break in your, you know,
hmm.
that highest well-being, sense of self or whatever. That's why
Oh, the
you got.
reactive, right? The reactive versus
Mhm.
like you're unconscious, right? Oh, yeah. It says it's um what the soul is doing to the body through the mind. So in a way, it's kind of
Yes.
like being an intuitive healer with like meditation, but um not as like a tool to help you through anxiety or stress. It's a cure. Like it's saying this will cure all
Yeah.
your ailments. Mm.
Like, I'm curious to know as to what Kirstie Alley was doing as far as treatment wise for her cancer, because as a Scientologist, again, you're not supposed to be going to a hospital because L. Ron Hubbard has said, once you get to this level, you can cure your own cancer.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
but
So,
Isn't that similar
didn't
to
he,
Christian
He died
Scientists?
of stroke.
yeah, he died
yes.
very young too, didn't he?
Did he?
Overall, he wasn't
Uh,
that old.
no, I think he was pretty old. Um,
Yeah,
Yeah.
he was 74.
Yeah, I
That's
was
not
gonna
that
say he
old.
was fairly old, but he also had
70.
cancer.
Yeah.
And they
But,
were like, his first body is gone. He's gonna come back.
oh yeah.
Like, he's just
Reincarnation.
waiting for us. Yeah.
Pretty much they
Or-
believe in reincarnation.
Yeah. Or was
Yeah.
it like he was going to be resurrected? Like he's a martyr figure, like Christ. I mean,
I think it was kind of more of a resurrection, but not in him coming back to life, if that makes sense. Like it was more of
yeah,
like, oh, this vessel is done.
my body's done. Yeah.
Yeah, that one. But I'm
And my
coming back.
energy has, yeah, my energy will go somewhere else, which would be
Yeah.
reincarnation. Which I
Right.
feel like that's the thing though, right? This is so seductive. Like that's where I feel like there are aspects of this where he really has created this quote unquote religion slash
Yeah.
cult that does have helpful tools, but like if you manipulate the people, like if you're
Mhm.
manipulating these tools to only be financially lucrative, it really is preying on people's weaknesses. Like,
Yeah.
because I can see how this would be seductive of like, well, I feel like what Leah Remini says. You feel like you have all this you have all the secretive knowledge that others don't have,
Mhm.
and you know the truth. And
And also
like,
being told they're helping people too in the process.
yeah, because this happened to me in hot yoga. Like I talk about this next week. Mary has this really awesome episode with psychologists who specialize in cold groups
Mhm.
and like trying to deprogram people. So like when I was in hot yoga, I enjoyed it for the yoga, but I would start to hear these like mantras like the more you do hot yoga, you're not going to get sick anymore and you're going to sweat out the illnesses. And I'm like,
Mhm.
I don't think that's how illness works, but
No.
they're like being trained by these
Mhm.
a leader who was accused of sexual assault. So like
Bikram. Yeah.
yeah, Bikram and that
Yeah.
documentary is wild.
So I have $1 million question. Is L. Ron Hubbard Scientology today the way he envisioned it, or did they change it and became more of a moneymaker?
I think it was very different when David Miscavige took over. From what I was
Exactly.
reading.
It's greed,
Yeah.
deception,
He
Mhm.
was the
all
narcissist.
power.
Mhm. I mean, L. Ron
Yeah.
Hubbard was too, but I think he had a lesser limit, if that makes sense. Like, I know that's probably weird, but I think he probably was like, when he died, he was like, yes, I have all of these followers, I have all these people under my thumb. You know, I have my boat, I can go sail whenever I want, kind of a thing. Like, I think for him, when he died, he probably felt he was at the top of everything. Because I don't know if this mentions it, 'cause again, I know I've researched a bunch of stuff otherwise, so sometimes my knowledge gets crossed and I inject it in places it's not. But I know I remembered, like, in his earlier days, there were a lot of scandals and trouble. Like, they were getting in trouble with the law. So, like, his wife went to jail for him, essentially. Like, she basically pled guilty to a crime that he essentially committed. I'm pretty sure it was, like, all fraud related.
Yeah, fraud.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Mary, right? Wasn't her name
Yes.
Mary?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You know, so I feel like
So-
for him, he's like, yeah, I overcame all of this. Like, again, when he died, he probably was like, yep, that's it.
Yeah.
But I think
But do you
David
think he
Miscavige
actually
saw it.
Yeah, but do you think like because he was the creator in a way, psychologically, he could
Mm-hmm.
rationalize that he was doing good for the people where like David
Mm-hmm.
Miscavige jumped in and went on the exploitation train. Where maybe L.
Yeah.
Ron Hubbard wasn't really thinking he's actually exploiting people. He's like, oh, well, this is actually helping people mentally. This is helping them with their health.
Yeah. And I think the
Like,
author
who's the lesser
mentality
of
as
two
well.
evils?
Yeah.
Like, David Miscavige seems very, like just so manipulative.
And
in all of
he's
his
abusive, right? Like like
He
physically
punches
abusive.
people.
Yeah.
Let's
Yeah.
talk about that.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
we
It's,
hear
yeah.
about a lot of, like, obviously it's no surprise that crime, like physical abuse cases come out in even, you know, regular religions. You know, we hear about these things. I mean, yes, I'm calling out the Catholic Church specifically, but, you know, how is it that, I don't know, do we feel like it's more accepted because it's like it's a cult, or like is it more of an eye opener?
But that's where I keep on circling back, because it's not only Scientology, it's up all these mega churches that are in
Mhm.
Texas, you name it, down south. They have
Oh, awesome.
20,000 seat auditoriums, like it's an arena and whatever. They've been caught with their hands in a cookie jar, maybe financially only. I'm not sure about the abuse side
Yeah.
and all, but they've gotten punished. They've been had. So well, I keep on circling back. Why is the Scientology? I mean, especially I didn't know about L. Ron Hubbard and his scandals and his wife maybe going to jail, whatever that was, Mary. I don't know
Mhm.
that brought it to my attention. Well, they should, if that happened years ago when L. Ron Hubbard was doing it, why isn't it under the radar? It should be out there. Everybody should be looking at it. Well, when he
Mhm.
did it with problem, and then all these things coming out, why isn't anybody investigating
Right.
this?
Like even especially like the child abuse that's
Yeah,
going on right
Mhm.
exactly.
now. Yeah.
Exactly.
Exactly. Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, yeah, like this,
Well,
you're
I feel
right.
like.
The
Mhm.
children laborers.
Yeah.
I just
Mhm.
can't believe how, I mean, we talked about this with Brittany, but that was a family business. But this is like they're literally taken away from their parents
Yeah.
and now working these, Sea Org positions, and they're like 11 or 12, and supposed to, they're being treated as if they're fully functional adults.
Yeah.
Because
I,
they're seen that way.
Yeah,
uh-huh. Oh yeah, that's right. There is
No
no
one is
difference
ever
if they're
seen,
agents.
even babies aren't even
right,
seen.
Mhm.
Like,
right.
they're like, your soul is its full maturity when you come into this world, even as an infant. So, congrats, you're now going to be considered an adult. And it's like, what? Like, what?
Which, but I don't understand this. They're working at a resort. It's like they're
Yeah.
out in public. It's not like we
Mhm.
have them in a factory where
Mhm.
limited exposure to third parties. They're in a
Yeah.
resort, and nobody said, "Why is an 11-year-old my server or a housekeeper?"
Yeah.
Really?
Right. Right.
So
That's true.
there's some funny stuff that really needs to be investigated here.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And especially, didn't Leah say in her book, like her sister, when she was a baby, was kept in like a nursery that was disgusting?
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
Mhm.
yeah,
Like, yeah,
yeah,
I
exactly.
mean,
Well, and yeah.
I think like adults can do like whatever they want. Like if they want to be in like give all their money, like okay, like fine. But like children, like this
Yep.
is we have like CPS and like laws and stuff in place, and no one's looking out for them.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Like they're
And I
not in
think,
school.
it's
Exactly.
because they segregate, or not segregate, but they've isolated themselves so far, not so far from the rest of society, but just enough that they can still blend in and kind of go unnoticed,
Hmm.
which, like, and I think that because of that, no one's really saying, oh, well, why is this going on? Because if your whole street is all of your fellow Scientologists, they're all doing the same thing, and therefore no one's reaching out.
Right.
But still, I mean, even still, it's like ridiculous.
Well, that sort of to a degree is like if you look at the Amish community up in Lancaster or the Mennonites, they're in their own community. So we
Mhm.
really outside looking in, we don't really know what
Yeah.
goes on there besides what we see maybe at their retail locations, whatever. But we don't know really what goes on at the farms and all like that. We have
Mhm.
no idea.
Mhm.
Yeah. Well, that's where I don't think Scientology is the most extreme. Like, I think that Leah Remini does a great job of, in my opinion, like showing this model, like how this works in other organizations. Like, it's not just Scientology. This is,
But
um, a case study. Like, here's my
Mhm.
case study for how, um, a group can be exploited and manipulated by those who don't care about, um, they don't care about religion. Like, they don't care about, making you a better person. They're just wanting your money,
Yeah.
which I think there's a lot of scams
Mhm.
actually that can operate like this on smaller scales, right? I mean,
Yeah,
we see these in our everyday lives.
I think
Mhm.
this is such on a big scale as a percentage
Yeah.
of people's income and the
Hmm.
hours and hours they spent doing these courses
Mhm.
and going to the center. And I mean, it's crazy.
Andrew, remember that list when we were watching the series? And you brought up there was this list that they have to these steps.
Yeah.
And if then they
Yes.
have to they fall back down and then they have to go back up and they
It's a
fall
pyramid scheme, basically.
horrible.
Mhm.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me like of Mary Kay, which I don't think Mary Kay's as, you know, dangerous, but it's kind of like when you would go to like those
I don't even know.
Pubco parties
Like
where
up
someone's
here,
like,
Yeah, I know.
get up
um,
and you'll have enough
Yeah.
scale to go.
you know, but that kind of was even how some fitness trends, or even like I go back to hot yoga because like he set it up as a pyramid scheme, but it was like when I would go to yoga more, they're like, oh, you would be great for teacher training. And I'm like, oh, you know, how much is the hot yoga teacher training? They're like, oh, it's only $5,000. And I'm like, huh? I'm like,
That's